Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles. The star of today's show, we have seen him before, for it is none other than Maltese Knight. You can probably guess where he comes from. Although, you may not have seen the ship that he's sailing before. This is the US Navy's latest and greatest star of stage, screen and dockyard canteen, the USS Hawaii. You may have heard of it. It was the last hull to be built in the Alaska-class battle cruiser or large cruiser project. The hull was completed, but they never fitted the ship out. And the configuration that you see here is a suggested configuration where they replaced all of the armament with 5-inch dual-purpose gun turrets, essentially turning this thing into an Atlanta on crack. Now, I love the USS Atlanta. I think Wargaming are pretty fond of it too, because there are at least 20 different versions of it in the game, and I'm not just talking actual Atlantas, I'm talking, well, basically the entire Pan-Asian light cruiser line are effectively different versions of the USS Atlanta with different gimmicks. But I do like the Atlanta. I acknowledge that it's not the ship that it used to be prior to the aircraft carrier rework when its AA firepower got absolutely gutted, but I do still enjoy the Atlanta's playstyle. More so down at, like, Tier 7 where it belongs, because at the end of the day, what you have is a cruiser that's armed with destroyer gun turrets, dual-purpose 5-inch guns, not the 6-inch or 152mm guns that you typically find light cruisers armed with. And only having like a 12.5 kilometer range on your main gun batteries at tier 7 isn't great, but it's not that bad. You can work around it. At the higher tiers, it does start to get a bit limiting. Enter stage left, the USS Hawaii. Not quite. I mean, they're the same caliber. They're 5-inch or 127mm guns. They're exactly the same caliber that you get on almost all of the US Navy destroyers and a fair few of the US Navy light cruisers, but these are not exactly the same, because these things have a range of 18.3 kilometers. The thing is, they also have that kind of slow, because the thing about the Atlanta was that it had a lot of guns, but it didn't have the fast reload on those 5-inch guns. It certainly wasn't a slow reload, but 6-ish seconds is kind of pedestrian. And the USS Hawaii has the same 6-second reload. And if you're thinking, that don't look like no 6-second reload to me, Jingles, you're right. Because this thing basically has the best of both worlds. The default firing range on all of these guns is 18.3 kilometers, but with a 6-second reload. However, it has a funny button, and when you press the funny button, it gets a 3-second reload. The kind of reload that when you've got 18 of these guns shooting at you with a 3-second reload, any enemy destroyers who think, yeah, I can cross that gap without dying, had better think again. The downside to activating the funny button and getting that 3-second reload on these dual-purpose 5-inch guns, and it's not that much of a downside when you put it into perspective, is that it reduces the range from 18.3 kilometers down to 12.5 kilometers. Or in other words, pretty much exactly what ships like the Atlanta and the majority of the Pan-Asian light cruisers have as their firing range anyway, except with twice the rate of fire. Actually, realistically more than twice the rate of fire, because the Hawaii has more guns. Now, like the Atlanta, the Hawaii cannot fire all of its 24 5-inch guns. Yeah, you heard that right. 24 5-inch guns. Double the amount of guns of the Atlanta, effectively. It can't fire them all at the same time, though, because a lot of these turrets are mounted down the sides of the ship. So, if you're engaging a target on the port side, the guns on the starboard side can't fire. But you can generally get 18 of these things firing at any one target at any one time. Of course, the other downside of being in a light cruiser like the Atlanta or the Pan-Asian light cruisers is you're in a light cruiser and you're armoured appropriately. other cruisers, especially heavy cruisers, and enemy battleships tend to look at light cruisers and think, om nom nom nom, crunchy on the outside, chewy on the inside, and you might occasionally get lucky when a battleship opens up with a 16-inch armour piercing and they just over-penetrate harmlessly, but generally you're made out of citadels. The USS Hawaii, however, is not a light cruiser. It's a battle cruiser, and it's armoured appropriately. Now, it doesn't have battleship armour, but it's got 27 to 36 millimetres of deck plating, and up to 229 millimetres of belt armour. So you can actually sail in open water in front of battleships, and not instantly get deleted, like this. I mean, you still have to take care to angle your armour, otherwise you are going to get instantly deleted. And you're obviously not immune to damage, but you're not going to explode the second anything loads armour piercing and so much as looks in your general direction. The biggest problem you're going to have with this ship is deciding whether or not to go for the IFHE skill or not on War Commander, because these are just 5-inch guns and therefore only have, I think, 19 millimetres of high explosive penetration by default, which is fine for shooting at light cruisers, especially British light cruisers. It's fine for shooting at destroyers. Heavy cruisers and battleships, not so much. Obviously this improves if you take the IFHE skill, but it's going to drastically reduce your chance of setting a fire on target. However, there is a famous quote. It's often attributed to Joseph Stalin, but opinion is divided as to whether or not he actually said it, and the quote is, "Quantity has a quality all of its own." These guns have a base chance of setting fire on target with a high explosive shell of only 9% to begin with, and that will be further reduced if you take the IFHE skill. But when you're landing 54 shots on target every 6 seconds, even with a reduced chance of setting a fire, that's going to add up very, very quickly. Maltese Knight has just set his 10th fire and he's done 156,000 damage. And most of the damage, aside from the kill on that very, very unwise Tash Kent in the opening moments of the match, most of his damage has been against enemy battleships. He's going to have to do a little more though, because right now his team are 2 kills, 300 points and almost 2 cap circles behind. They are now 2 cap circles behind. The enemy Sabir went down, but at the cost of a friendly Isimo, so they're still 2 kills down. They still don't have any cap circles, although they are threatening to take the cap circle at Alpha, and there's still a 250 point deficit. So, more kills please. And there's an enemy Hawaii. Well, I think we've already established just exactly how bloody dangerous these things are, so if that thing can be eliminated quick, that would be nice. He's managed to set yet another fire. Note that nobody can see him. He's sailing around in open water, blasting away, with the funny button pressed at targets that are less than 12.5 kilometres away, but his positioning means that he remains undetected throughout. Now he's spotted. That probably... Yep, there it is. Obviously it was going to be an enemy destroyer. That's going to be really bad news for the enemy destroyer. Oh, did I mention this thing's also a radar cruiser? Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. It really sucks to be you. I think he's the only one in a position to shoot at it though, so it might actually get away with it. But the good news is that while he didn't finish off the Lushan, he did force it to get the hell out of there, and so he has once again gone undetected. Although anybody paying attention to the minimap will know where he was, where he's going, and what his intentions are. Yeah, he did get respotted there, but again, only momentarily. So now what's he going to do? He's got a number of options. None of them are particularly appealing. He's right next to the cap circle, so he could get in there and contest it, and at least stop the enemy team from, well, extending that 400 point lead. But slipping into that cap circle would mean that he wouldn't be in a position to shoot at anything, and when you're down this many kills and 400 points, you're not going to win the battle by not shooting at anything. But he's completely lost the element of surprise. He's hydroed, and you really don't want to be going around the corner and exposing yourself to fire from that lot. Remember, there's a destroyer there too, with torpedoes. Fortunately, the enemy Gonzaga makes the decision for him by doing exactly what Maltese Knight was in no rush to do except from the other side. But no, I know you're thinking, what a waste, but it was totally worth it. He got all 3 of his torpedoes away and failed to hit anything with them. So, you know, thank you for your sacrifice. Now, the team are still 400 points behind, of course, and he's still hydroed. They still know he's coming, but now he's in the position he wanted to be. He's managed to get into the cap circle, and he's reversing in there while angled, so he can take the inevitable incoming fire on the chin and also get the hell out of there fast if he needs to, if this turns out to be a bad idea. Going for the Riga first. You'll note he's never ever putting himself in position, aside from when he was dealing with a couple of battleships distracted by a friendly Alaska at the beginning. He's almost never putting himself into a position where more than one enemy ship gets the chance to shoot at him at the same time. Keeping an eye on what the big boys are doing, and the enemy destroyer. There goes the Riga. Here comes the Lepanto. He's switching to the armour piercing. It's less than 12.5 kilometres, funny button activated. Watch this. This is just... This shouldn't be allowed. Look at the damage. It's destroyer caliber guns, yeah? That Lepanto has no idea what just happened. He just knows he's made a mistake. It's the friendly Lepanto actually gets the kill. Hey, what can I say? It's a team effort. Maltese Knight didn't get away scot-free there. He took a beating, because of course he did. He's in a cruiser going up against a battleship at point-blank range. But he didn't die. The battleship did. So now he repeats his earlier party piece. Still has the armour piercing loaded, because he's got a nice, not quite flat broadside to shoot at, and it's the enemy Hawaii. And both of these guys have more or less started off this engagement with the same average hit point total. The thing is, once again, only the enemy Hawaii is able to shoot back at him thanks to his careful positioning, but the enemy Hawaii was getting shot at by at least 3 members of Maltese Knight's team, including Maltese Knight himself. I think the Lepanto, and definitely the friendly Preußen, who was in fact the one that finished off the Hawaii with its secondaries. Torpedoes spotted by Maltese Knight, even though his hydro isn't running. They were so close, despite the fact that they're deep water torpedoes, he was close enough to spot them in plenty of time that the friendly, is that the Preußen, should easily be able to dodge them. I mean, he's taking hits from something else, but it's not the torpedoes that are going to kill him. Obvious destroyer is obvious. Maltese Knight doesn't even have to use his own radar there. Friendly Alaska pops it. Bad day to be in a destroyer, isn't it? Holy shit, look at that. Secondary range of a Preußen. Primary gun battery range of a USS Hawaii. Is the Lucian going to make it out? I strongly doubt it. I mean, he might, but he's on a sliver of health. And then suddenly a wild Hindenburg enters the fight. And again, you've got 2 Tier 10 cruisers squaring off against each other in a one-on-one. Both of them starting the fight with more or less the same hit point total. But I can tell you who's going to win this one. It's not the Hindenburg. It's not even going to be close. And there it goes. The Lucian is still alive, by some miracle. But finally, for the first time in this battle, with only 1 enemy ship left alive, Maltese Knight's team are ahead on points. And kills. And cap circles. And... I mean, they don't need to go after the Lucian. They've got the caps, they've got the points. But it's going to take minutes for them to reach 1,000 points. There's still 6 minutes of the battle remaining. The Lucian is going to have to come through them to get to a cap circle and sink some of them, and he is at least trying. Because the Alaska is in hot pursuit. And you know what? If the Alaska's going in, he's obviously running his hydro. He wouldn't have seen those torpedoes. We know the Alaska's just used its radar. Maltese Knight's radar is ready to go. He's taken a torpedo. You see? This is the no cap kill all mentality. The thing is, if people can't afford to wait 2 minutes to win on points, you really don't want to risk the Lucian maybe scraping a win by sinking and killing the Alaska and getting the points for that. And with the time remaining, it probably still wouldn't be enough. He'd almost certainly need to get another kill. But if the Alaska is determined to go in, you may as well back him up and just not risk it. And there goes the radar. He wasn't actually in radar range. He revealed himself, but he's obviously realised that he's lost this match and he's just trying to take the Alaska down with him. So fair play to the Lucian. At least he's not trying to drag this out, because realistically he's never going to win it. But he's not just fighting the Alaska, is he? Because he is within the 18.3 kilometre shooting range of the USS Hawaii. Is this going to be a Kraken? Yes, by God it is! This ship is just crazy. It's basically a tier 10 version of the Atlanta, with everything that makes the Atlanta good cranked up to 11, but none of the drawbacks. There are no downsides in the USS Hawaii. That seems perfectly reasonable. Anyway, that was Maltese Knight. With 3,500 base XP, doing 330,000 damage and getting 5 kills and a Kraken Unleashed in the latest and greatest, all singing, all dancing, star of stage, screen and dockyard canteen, the USS Hawaii. You can check out the link to his YouTube channel down below in the description. Thank you for sending it in. I hope you all enjoyed it. And as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.